As legend has it, Jimmy Buffett's secret to eternal bliss was hidden in the lyrics of his songs, the grains of sand between his toes, and the salt in the air. Jimmy was the king of sunshine and was the master of the art of island time. His life was a whimsical tale of carefree days and tropical nights where the worries of the world just drifted away as quickly as the wind. And without question, Buffett has left behind a legacy that, quite honestly, I'm not sure that it could ever be duplicated. An artist who impacted millions, and the impact went far beyond his songs, but also with his genuine, loving personality and laid-back approach to living your best life. But in order to continue to be the billboard for living life in the best way that you ever could or anyone would ever want to, Jimmy had to persevere through some scary times in his life that almost caused tragedy at an earlier stage in his career. 3 times, actually, and while some of them may have somewhat of a reflection on Jimmy Buffett's ideology, others, however, were kind of shocking to hear. So with that, let's get right into it. The first known near encounter with death came in the year of 1978. In music writer Ryan White's book, Jimmy Buffett, A Good Life All the Way, he revisited the story of when Buffett was apparently on a sailboat and anchored in a cove out in San Salvador, the capital of El Salvador. It's explained that Jimmy was stopped by a cigarette boat, and the folks on the boat asked Buffett if they could use his radar. Jimmy negotiated, and the two, made a deal. Jimmy let the cigarette boat operators use his radar on the condition that he could drive their cigarette boat. Reportedly, the Cheeseburger in Paradise singer went and partied on another sailboat in the area as well, and ultimately fell asleep in his boat's dinghy, drifting out into open water. Fortunately enough for Jimmy, he was eventually located and received help getting back to land. Now, what's pretty wild is almost 2 decades later, 16 years later, in the year of 1994, according to the Tampa Bay Times, Jimmy Buffett had another near tragic incident involving the water, but this time, instead of it being in a boat, Jimmy was in an airplane, a seaplane to be exact. The Tampa Bay Times, at the time, reported that Jimmy Buffett boarded a seaplane to leave Nantucket Island in Massachusetts, where he had been vacationing. However, as the plane was making its attempt to take off, the plane ran into a wave, causing it to flip over. Jimmy managed to swim from the plane to a passing boat nearby, where he was picked up and taken back to land. The Tampa Bay Times also reported that police met Buffett on shore, and authorities stated that there were no visible injuries, but he did complain of pain. Jimmy was ultimately transported to Nantucket Cottage Hospital for treatment and eventually released. A year later, in 1995, Jimmy Buffett spoke to the Boston Globe, where he shared that he was still flying even after that horrific incident. Jimmy said, "I'm still flying, but I have a safer plane now. For a while I got introspective about it, but you've got to get back up. I called a therapist I'd seen off and on in California to tell him about it and to say I was having flashbacks. But the week before, the therapist had also ditched his plane. Boy, did we have one heck of a therapy session." Jimmy continued, where he added, "Once you've had a near-death experience, it does affect you. I remember this one. I had another near-death experience when I was 19 and was at the bottom of the ocean, but I was too drunk to care about it." No other details seem to have been provided by Jimmy about that story surrounding his 19-year-old self, but through Buffett's words, I guess you can add a 4th near-death story to the books. Now, on to our last one for you here, and this has got to be one of the wildest and really most shocking stories I think I've ever heard. 2 years after Jimmy's seaplane incident in the year of 1996, according to a report by Taste of Country, on January 16, 1996, Jimmy Buffett and U2 frontman Bono were shot at by Jamaican police while on Buffett's plane. Jimmy on this occasion happened to be piloting his plane called the Hemisphere Dancer, and when the plane landed in Negril, Jamaica, police were on the ready as they reportedly were working on a tip that they had received on drug smuggling in the area, when really it was just Jimmy Buffett wanting to show Bono and his family some of the finest jerk chicken in Jamaica. However, authorities opened fire as they believed the passengers who were getting off the plane were drug smugglers. U2 frontman Bono and his family dove for safety, ducking for cover as they were attempting to disembark the aircraft. No injuries, thank God, were reported, but Bono and his family immediately left Jamaica. I can't say that I blame them. Jimmy, however, stayed to clear the air with police. MTV shared a report that authorities in Jamaica eventually apologized to Bono and Buffett. In an interview with Belfast Telegraph, Bono described the incident where he said, "These boys were shooting all over the place. I felt as if we were in the middle of a James Bond movie. Only this was real. It was absolutely terrifying, and I honestly thought we were all going to die. Thank God we were safe and sound. My only concern was for their safety. It was very scary, let me tell you. You can't believe the relief I felt when I saw the kids were okay." Jimmy also reflected on the wild mishap, where he later told Andy Cohen in an interview in 2018, "There are 2 rules in rock and roll I've found. Never forget to duck, and never forget you can go to hell at any minute." As most Jimmy Buffett fans know, he later also released his song Jamaica Mistake, which was an ode to the incident. I mean, this story right here leaves me almost speechless. Truly shocking to hear this, and again, really glad that everyone came out of that situation okay, because that really could have been absolutely terrible. But man, Jimmy Buffett really lived quite the life, didn't he? And for a man that had a carefree outlook on life, he still had his fair share of scary and worrisome moments, to say the least. But Jimmy taught us all a lot about life, and he will be missed beyond measure by so many. He truly lived his life like a song until his passing on September 1st of 2023. I want to say thank you, Jimmy, and you will forever remain as one of the greatest to ever do it in this business, on the stage, and quite frankly, off the stage. Y'all, if you could, down below in the comments, please leave your greatest or fondest memory of Jimmy Buffett, whether that be an album, a song, or just a memory, or maybe you've had an encounter with Buffett along the way. Just like Jimmy did, he loved to swap stories and have fun times laughing about those stories and having everyone come together to share those remarkable stories. So if you have one, please share it down below in the comments. I think it will be a great ode to Jimmy Buffett, as well as just a really fun thing for all of us to get to see as we can continue to still talk and be reminded of just how wonderful Jimmy Buffett truly was, as not only a person, but as an artist, and really as an idol to so many. He really did leave a legacy. As always, thank y'all for tuning in here at Country Cast. That will be all for today's video.